I want to thank those that are in attendance this morning, and I also want to thank those that are watching on Cyclones.tv, as well as those that are tuning in on our website. Kevin's mother could not be here. She's down in Arizona, so I know she's watching on the website, so hello, Mrs. Dresser. Exciting day for our athletics program and our wrestling program. I recognize that future results will ultimately dictate what we think of today, but I truly believe in my heart that the history will reflect back on February 22nd, 2017 as a very historic day in Iowa State wrestling history. You know, although it's never fun to go through personnel changes, there are also opportunities to inject enthusiasm, energy, and excitement into our institution, our athletics program, and to our wrestling program in this particular case. I'm really excited about what this means for everyone involved, but especially the young men in our wrestling room. You know, we don't talk about the search while the search is going on, and so I always like to take a few moments at these introductory press conferences to be able to share with all of you and our constituents how this process unfolded. But before we do that, I think it's important to have several thank yous and acknowledgments. First of all, to Kevin Jackson, to Robin, and to their family. I know this didn't turn out the way he or anybody hoped 8 years ago, but what Kevin Jackson did for us was pour his heart and soul into this program. And in the end, yes, didn't win enough matches, but that doesn't change the fact that Kevin Jackson is a gold medal winner. It's hung in the rafters of Hilton, that he was the captain of our 1987 national championship team, that he's a great coach, a great wrestler, and more importantly, a great person. I'm not certain many people would have put this program and the team ahead of their own ambitions to do what he did in the timing that he did this year to allow us to move this program forward. So I thank Kevin because he truly is once a Cyclone, always a Cyclone. Also want to thank the current staff. You know, we talk when we go through personnel changes about the impact on families and such, but sometimes I think we forget about the impact that it's also going to have on the assistants. Travis and Trent Paulson, Angel, Dana, all of them are impacted by this, and I really appreciate how they've handled themselves during this process and how I know they'll handle themselves during the remaining of the wrestling season. I want to thank our current wrestlers. You know, they didn't sign up to have a coaching change in the time that they were here, and I think it says a lot about those young men of how they've handled this process, and I thank them. I thank them for having the patience and the understanding of going through a life event. I want to thank all our former wrestlers and the alums. You know, when you have a search, especially in wrestling, there are a lot of people that want to give input and insight into what you should do or what you shouldn't do. And a big part of this process was listening to them. I leaned on several of them, far too many for me to acknowledge today without leaving somebody out, but they certainly know who they are. I want to thank President Leith. You know, if you didn't have a president that cleared the way for us to do a search like we do, some of this could never ever happen. So I thank him because he allows us to do what we do. I want to thank Chris Jorgensen, our senior associate AD that oversees wrestling. He's in the trenches, he's in all these tough meetings. Behind the scenes has been a big part of this process. I think the next couple people I want to thank, I think really embody what it means to be part of this Cyclone athletics program because this was a team effort. I want to thank Ed Bannock. You know, we've got a gold medal winner on our staff. And to have Ed's counsel in the process, but most importantly his process through dealing with the difficulties of the NOIs, and to have somebody working in our compliance office that understands wrestling at the highest level. So thank you, Ed. This will be a strange one for all of you, but I want to thank Martin Smith, our head track coach, and Jeremy Sudbury, our assistant track coach. They gave up Super Bowl Sunday to spend time with me preparing documents for Coach Dresser to look at to understand how academic aid and financial aid is awarded at Iowa State, because when you're in a sport like wrestling that's an equivalency sport, a big part of your success is how you allocate your scholarship money. And to have them give up that Super Bowl Sunday to come in and prepare documents and then to have Jeremy actually talk to Coach the next day and help him walk through that process, I think speaks to how this was a community hire, not just a one-person hire. I want to thank Coach Campbell. I know Coach Campbell's here. I don't know many football coaches that would give up a day of football to travel with the AD to Blacksburg, Virginia, to help court our head coach. And I think it says a lot about Coach Campbell. I think it also says a lot about Coach Dresser, that Coach Campbell would recognize how important this hire was to this athletics program and accepted my invitation to go, because we knew the impact that probably would have on Coach, to have the head football coach show up in your living room to meet with your family, to talk about coming to Iowa State. But more importantly, on the strategic side of it, we thought, who better to be able to talk about coming into the Cyclone family than somebody that just did it a year and a half ago? And more importantly, someone that had to look his student athletes in the eye and say, I'm going to another institution. And so, Coach, I appreciate you taking the time to do that. It says a lot about you. And the last two thank yous, I want to thank Whit Babcock, the AD at Virginia Tech. I've been on the other side of this, and I know how disappointing and difficult it can be. Whit was absolutely professional during this entire process, as was all the folks at Virginia Tech. This wasn't done in the cloak of night. It was done all above board by both Coach Dresser and myself, and those people that were involved handled it extremely professionally, and so I really appreciate Whit's way he handled this. And lastly, but certainly not least, I want to thank Penny and Emma and Anna and Jack. 3 weeks ago, this wasn't on your radar screen that your life was going to get turned upside down. When we went out to meet with them, we asked that we meet with the entire family, and Penny called the school and got them out of school during the day, which the kids loved, but this was a family decision, and we approached it as a family decision. It's not something we were taking lightly, and I thank all four of you for allowing your husband and your dad to pursue his dreams and to be supportive, because that's a tough time at the stage in your life to have to go through this. But we also think it's a very exciting time, and we look forward to doing anything and everything we can to support your transition to Iowa State. The process. It was a three-step process. We talked about at the beginning. It was a listening, a targeting, and then maybe interviewing. All right? When I say listening, we did talk to numerous individuals that are associated with our program to find out what they thought. And the overriding consensus was, we need a CEO of wrestling. We need somebody that's done it, has been there, who can restore this program back to its rightful place in the history of college wrestling. And challenged me as AD to say, you owe it to this athletics department and to this program to go after the absolute best if you can get them. The second part of that process then is targeting. And we had one target and one target only, and that target came through. Had that not happened, we were prepared to go to step 3, which was interviewing. And there were quite a lot of individuals that had a lot of interest, both head or assistant coaches, both internal and external to the program. But we never got to that process in the selection, because we were able to reach out to Coach Dresser. We went out on February 9th, so over a week and a half ago. I'm still amazed that it stayed that quiet, especially when you take the head football coach with you. But we flew out there and spent a day with their family in Blacksburg, and essentially told Kevin, this is your job to have. We aren't here to interview you. We're here to court you. And the ball was in his court of whether he wanted to be the Iowa State head wrestling coach or not. Obviously a very challenging decision, very complicated decision because of the sheer timing of this situation. He texted me this past Saturday before I walked into a wedding that was filled with wrestlers down in Des Moines for the Gibbons family. And he texted me and said, I hope it's not too late. I would like to talk to you on Sunday after my meet with Nebraska, because we're ready to come. And needless to say, that made my Saturday really exciting. But I couldn't wait till Sunday night to have that conversation to see if we could really sign the deal and make it happen. We spoke on Sunday night. He agreed to be our coach, and I couldn't be more delighted for our institution and our athletics program, but more importantly for our wrestlers, both past and present,